First contact. The Galactic Council research vessel Inquirer drifted silently through the void, its sensors probing the uncharted star system. Commander Zalothia stood on the bridge, her lilac skin flushed with excitement as the readings began to come in. "Commander, you need to see this," Science Officer Crix called out, his feathered head crest flaring with surprise. "We found signs of advanced technology on the third planet." Zalothia moved to the sensor display, her four eyes widening as she saw the evidence of cities, power grids, and even artificial satellites around the blue-green world. "But that's impossible," she whispered. "Our initial scans show it's a Class 12 death world. The gravity, the temperature extremes, the atmospheric toxins. How could any civilization develop in those conditions?" As the Inquirer moved into orbit, the bridge crew watched in amazement as the planet's inhabitants began to react. Powerful radio signals reached out to them, carrying messages of greeting in mathematical sequences and simple pictograms. "They're attempting to communicate," Crix said, awe in his voice. "They detected us." On the planet below, the humans of Earth were scrambling to understand what was happening. In NASA Mission Control, Flight Director Naomi Jackson stared at the readings in front of her, hardly believing what she was seeing. "We have confirmed tracking on the unknown object in orbit," one of her controllers reported. "It's not one of ours, and it's not matching any known space debris. Get me the Pentagon, the White House, and the UN Security Council," Naomi ordered. "And keep sending that greeting message. If this is humanity's first contact, we can't afford any mistakes." As the day progressed, messages flew back and forth between Earth and the Inquirer, carried on beams of radio and light. Zalothia and her crew learned that these strange beings called themselves humans and came from a world they simply referred to as Earth. In turn, the humans were amazed to discover that the Galactic Council existed, a federation of species from across the Milky Way. But there was a problem. As the aliens described their own worlds of origin and the Council's standards for habitable planets, it became increasingly clear that Earth was far outside their norms. "They're afraid of us," Naomi said as she studied the latest transmissions. "Or more specifically, they're terrified by the fact that we survive and thrive on what they consider a death world." As night fell over Mission Control, Naomi knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity had finally found proof that they were not alone in the universe, but convincing their galactic neighbors that they were worthy partners might be an even greater challenge than crossing the gulf between the stars. The Galactic Council's challenge. Naomi Jackson stood in the center of the United Nations General Assembly Hall, trying to calm her nerves. In front of her, the vast chamber was filled with the representatives of Earth's nations, all waiting to hear what humanity's first ambassador to the stars had to say. On the giant screens behind her, 3 alien faces stared down, the representatives of the Galactic Council. There was Zalothia of the Inquirer, her lilac skin and 4 eyes now familiar from weeks of video communications. Beside her was Counselor Thranix, his scaled visage and flickering tongue marking him as a member of the reptilian saurian species. And at the center was High Chancellor Vox, a being of pure energy whose form swirled hypnotically within a containment field. "People of Earth," Naomi began, her voice carried to every corner of the chamber by the UN's sophisticated acoustic system. "3 months ago, we learned that we are not alone in this universe. The Galactic Council has reached out to us, offering the hand of friendship and cooperation. However," she paused, looking up at the alien faces, "they have also expressed concern. Our world, our Earth, is far harsher and more volatile than the planets they are used to. They fear that our strength, born of surviving in such conditions, may make us dangerous and unpredictable. To address these concerns, the Council has proposed a challenge." The chamber filled with murmurs as Naomi went on to explain the details. A team of 3 humans would be sent to a Council world classified as moderately challenging to survive for 30 Earth days. If they succeeded, The Council would fast-track Earth's membership application and welcome humanity as full partners in the galactic community. "This is our chance," Naomi said, her voice rising with emotion, "to show the galaxy what humanity is made of. Not just our strength, but our compassion, our ingenuity, our boundless determination to rise to any challenge. We go not to conquer, but to learn, to cooperate, and to forge bonds that will light the way to the future." As applause thundered through the chamber, Naomi turned to face the council representatives, determination burning in her eyes. She had fought hard for the right to lead the human team herself, and now everything depended on the choices she would make. For this mission, she had selected two of Earth's best and brightest to accompany her. Dr. Kiara Patel was a brilliant xenobiologist, an expert in adapting to foreign biospheres, and Lieutenant Commander Alexei Volkov was a Navy SEAL with years of experience in survival under the harshest conditions. Together, they would face the unknown and show the galaxy the true mettle of the human spirit. Arrival on the alien world. As the Council shuttle descended through the atmosphere of Kepler 1649, Naomi pressed her face to the viewport, eager for her first glimpse of an alien sky. Beside her, Kiara and Alexei were already discussing the challenge ahead. "Gravity about 1.2 times Earth standard," Alexei noted, checking his handheld scanner. "Shouldn't slow us down too much." "The atmosphere is a bit thinner than we're used to," Kiara added, "but nothing we can't handle. I'm more interested in these life sign readings." Their musings were interrupted by a soft chime as the shuttle settled onto the planet's surface. The hatch opened, revealing a landscape of rolling hills dotted with unfamiliar vegetation, all beneath a sky of soft orange. Naomi took the first step onto the alien soil, a thrill running through her. This was a moment that would be remembered for generations, the first time a human set foot on a world beyond the solar system. Their council observer, a slender being named Lyraxia, emerged behind them, her iridescent feathers ruffling nervously. "Please remember," Kay said, "this planet is classified as moderately challenging. You must exercise caution at all times." Naomi smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, Lyraxia. We've trained for this. We know what we're doing." As they set off towards the designated challenge zone, Alexei took point, his eyes scanning the terrain for any potential threats. Kiara followed close behind, her scanner already collecting data on the alien flora and fauna. Naomi couldn't help but marvel at the ease with which her team adapted to their new environment. The higher gravity barely seemed to faze Alexei, and Kiara was in her element, excitedly pointing out each new form of life they encountered. Even Lyraxia seemed impressed as they reached the challenge site, and the humans quickly set about making camp. Alexei had a fire going in minutes, while Kiara was already setting up the perimeter sensors and Naomi began assembling their shelter. "You work so efficiently together," Lyraxia observed, her head tilted in curiosity. "Is this normal for your species?" "It's a learned skill," Naomi explained as she secured the shelter's weatherproofing. "Humans are adaptable. We're good at working as a team, especially in challenging situations." As the alien sun began to set, casting long shadows across their small camp, Naomi couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Here they were, light years from home, facing an unknown world. And they were thriving. She knew there would be challenges ahead, tests that would push them to their limits. But in that moment, watching her team work seamlessly together beneath an alien sky, she knew one thing with absolute certainty. They were ready to face whatever this planet could throw at them, ready to show the galaxy what humanity was made of. And most of all, ready to take the first steps into a future that had just become so much bigger than they had ever imagined. The earthquake. Naomi was wrenched from sleep by a violent shaking. For a disoriented moment, she thought it was Alexei, rousing her for her watch shift. But as the shaking intensified, accompanied by a deep, ominous rumbling, the truth hit her like a physical blow. "Earthquake," she yelled, struggling to her feet as the ground bucked and heaved beneath her. Everyone out now. Kiera and Alexei were already moving, years of training overriding any disorientation. They burst from the shelter into the chaos outside, where the once peaceful night had been transformed into a scene from a nightmare. The ground rippled and cracked, trees toppling like matchsticks. In the distance, a geyser of molten rock burst into the sky, painting the landscape in hellish shades of red and orange. And there, huddled in the middle of the camp, was Lyraxia. The council observer was frozen with terror, Xer feathers plastered to Xer body by the driving rain that had begun to fall. Lyraxia, Naomi shouted, fighting her way to the alien side. We need to get to higher ground, away from these fissures. But Lyraxia seemed paralyzed, Xer eyes wide and unseeing. Naomi made a split-second decision. She scooped the slender alien into her arms and started running, trusting Kara and Alexei to follow. They scrambled up the hillside, the ground still shaking beneath their feet. Behind them, the camp was being swallowed by the earth, their supplies and equipment vanishing into the widening cracks. At last, they reached a stable patch of high ground. Naomi set Lyraxia down gently, the alien trembling violently in her arms. Kara was at their side in an instant, her medical scanner already running over Lyraxia's vital signs. Xe's in shock. Kara reported, her voice tight with worry. We need to get Xer warm and calm. Alexei was already moving, setting up the emergency shelter with practiced efficiency. I'll get a fire going, he said, his face grim. Naomi, see if you can raise the shuttle on the emergency comms. But as Naomi fiddled with the communicator, trying to get a signal through the atmospheric interference, a new sound split the air. A high, keening wail, full of primal terror. It was coming from Lyraxia. It's too much, the alien sobbed, Xer voice cracking with strain. This world, these disasters. How can you stand it? How can you possibly survive in such constant danger? Naomi knelt beside Xer, taking Xer's trembling hand in her own. It's what we do, she said softly. Humans, we're adaptable. We learn to find strength in adversity, to come together when times are tough. It's not always easy, but it's who we are. As she spoke, she could see a glimmer of understanding in Lyraxia's eyes, a realization, perhaps, of the deeper resilience that lay beneath humanity's surface. Through the long night, as the aftershocks continued to rattle the planet, the humans huddled around their alien companion, sharing their warmth, their strength, their indomitable spirit. And as the first light of dawn began to paint the sky, Naomi knew that something had shifted. They had faced the fury of an alien world and emerged stronger, more united. They had shown Lyraxia, and through Xer, the entire Galactic Council, a glimpse of the true power that lay within the human heart. The power to endure, to adapt, to overcome. The power to turn even the greatest of challenges into the most profound of triumphs. The storm. As the sun rose over the battered landscape, Naomi took stock of their situation. The earthquake had destroyed most of their supplies, leaving them with only the bare essentials in their emergency packs. We'll need to forage, she decided, looking out over the unfamiliar terrain. Kiera, you're our best bet for identifying edible plants. Alexei, we'll need shelter and a way to signal the shuttle for pickup. Her team nodded, their faces set with determination. Even Lyraxia seemed steadier, Xer feathers smoothed back into their iridescent sheen. They set out into the alien landscape, Kara scanning the vegetation for anything that resembled the nutritional profiles in her xenobiology databases, while Alexei scouted for a suitable campsite. But as the day wore on, a new challenge emerged. Dark clouds began to gather on the horizon, the wind picking up with a low, ominous moan. That looks like trouble, Alexei muttered, eyeing the sky warily. We need to find shelter, fast. They quickened their pace, Naomi and Kiera helping Lyraxia over the uneven ground. The alien was struggling, her thin frame not built for this kind of exertion. Just as the first fat drops of rain began to fall, they spotted a glimmer of hope, a cave opening, set into the side of a low hill. They hurried inside just as the sky opened up, unleashing a torrent of icy rain. "We'll wait it out here," Naomi decided, shivering as the cold wind whipped into the cave entrance. "Alexei, see if you can get a fire going. Kyra, help me set up the emergency beacon." But as they worked, the storm outside only intensified. Lightning split the sky, followed by deafening cracks of thunder. The wind howled like a living thing, driving the rain in sheets across the mouth of the cave. Huddled around their tiny fire, the humans shared worried glances. This was no ordinary rainstorm. This was a full-blown hurricane, a maelstrom of elemental fury. And then, over the raging of the wind, they heard it. A cry for help, high and desperate, coming from outside the cave. Naomi was on her feet in an instant, Alexei and Kyra right behind her. Lyraxia, eyes wide with fear, made as if to stop them, but Naomi shook her head. "We have to help," she said simply. "It's what we do." And with that, they plunged out into the storm. The wind nearly knocked them off their feet, the rain lashing at their faces like icy needles. But they pushed forward, following the cries, until they found the source. It was a native creature, resembling a six-legged deer, its hindquarters trapped beneath a fallen tree. It thrashed in panic as they approached, its cries pitched high with terror. Wordlessly, the humans set to work. Alexei and Naomi strained against the heavy trunk, muscles screaming with effort, while Kyra soothed the creature, her voice low and calming. It took every ounce of their strength, but finally, with a massive heave, they shifted the tree just enough for the creature to pull free. It bounded away into the storm, its cries of fear replaced by what could only be described as gratitude. Exhausted, soaked to the bone, the humans made their way back to the cave. And there, huddled in the warmth of their tiny fire, they found Lyraxia, her eyes shining with a new light. "I understand now," the alien whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "Your strength, it isn't just physical. It's in your hearts, your spirits. You care for each other, and for other creatures, even in the face of danger. That is true power." Naomi smiled, her hand finding Kyra's, then Alexei's. "That's what it means to be human," she said softly. "We stand together, in the storm and beyond. Always." And as the storm raged on outside, the four of them huddled closer, united in the warmth of that simple, profound truth. The beast. The storm had passed, but it had left a changed world in its wake. The once lush landscape was now a tangle of fallen trees and mud-choked streams, the air heavy with the scent of wet earth and ozone. Naomi and her team picked their way through the debris, Lyraxia sticking close to Kyra's side. The xenobiologist had taken the alien under her wing, patiently explaining each new plant and creature they encountered. "It's amazing," Lyraxia said softly, watching as Kyra coaxed a sample from a bioluminescent fungus. "You have such a connection to the life around you, even on a world you've never seen before." Kyra smiled, carefully sealing the sample in a container. "Every world has its wonders," she said. "You just have to know how to look for them." But even as she spoke, a deep, guttural roar echoed through the forest, sending a chill down their spines. Alexei was instantly on alert, his hand going to the weapon at his hip. "That didn't sound friendly," he muttered, scanning the tree line for movement. "We should get back to the cave, regroup, and—" He never finished his sentence. A massive shape burst from the undergrowth, all teeth and claws, and primal fury. It was like nothing they had ever seen, a nightmarish amalgamation of bear, wolf, and something wholly alien. Alexei reacted on pure instinct, placing himself between the creature and the others. "Run!" he yelled, even as he brought his weapon to bear. "I'll hold it off." But Naomi was already moving, a plan forming in her mind even as the beast charged. "Kyra," she yelled, pointing to a tangled knot of vines hanging from a nearby tree. The samples, the ones with the sleep toxin. Kiara understood instantly. She ripped open her pack, grabbing the containers and tossing them to Naomi. Naomi caught them deftly, even as Alexei fired off a volley of shots that seemed to only enrage the beast further. With a silent prayer, Naomi hurled the containers straight at the creature's gaping maw. They shattered on impact, the viscous liquid within spattering across its face and tongue. For a moment, the beast wavered, its charge faltering. Then, with a final defiant roar, it collapsed, its massive body crashing to the forest floor. In the sudden silence, they stood frozen, hardly daring to breathe. Then Lyraxia let out a small, disbelieving laugh. You did it," Say whispered, her voice filled with awe. "You faced that thing, and you won, without killing it." Naomi shook her head, her heart still pounding in her chest. "We got lucky," she said softly. "If it hadn't been for Kiara's research, for Alexei's quick thinking." "No," Lyraxia said firmly, stepping forward to place a hand on Naomi's arm. "It was more than that. It was your teamwork, your trust in each other, your humanity." In that moment, looking into the alien's eyes, Naomi felt a sudden rush of understanding. This, more than anything, was what they had come here to prove. Not their individual strengths, but the unbreakable bonds that held them together. "Come on," she said at last, a small smile tugging at her lips. "Let's get this big guy somewhere safe before he wakes up. We've got a challenge to complete." And as they set to work, the unconscious beast a testament to their ingenuity and compassion, Naomi couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. They had faced the worst this planet had to offer, and they had emerged stronger, more united than ever. They were ready, she realized, ready to take their place among the stars, to bring the light of human spirit to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. The beast had been a trial, a test of their mettle. But it was a test they had passed, with flying colors. And now, the future stretched before them, bright with promise and endless possibility. A new beginning. The shuttle ride back to the Galactic Council headquarters was a quiet one. Naomi, Kiara, and Alexei sat huddled together, exhaustion etched into every line of their faces. But beneath the weariness, there was a sense of profound accomplishment, of pride in what they had achieved. Lyraxia sat across from them, her eyes never leaving their faces. "I will tell them," Kay said softly, breaking the silence. "The council. I will tell them everything I saw, everything you did. They need to understand." Naomi nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. "Thank you, Lyraxia. That means more than you know." As the shuttle docked and they stepped out into the bustling spaceport, they were met by a sight they had never expected. A crowd had gathered, beings from 100 different worlds, all craning for a glimpse of the humans who had taken on the Council's challenge and emerged victorious. At the front of the crowd stood High Chancellor Vox, her energy form swirling with what could only be described as excitement. "Welcome back," Say said, her voice echoing through the sudden hush. "And congratulations, you have proven yourselves worthy additions to our galactic community." Naomi stepped forward, Kiara and Alexei flanking her. She could feel the weight of the moment, the significance of what was about to happen. "Thank you, High Chancellor," she said, her voice ringing out clear and strong. "We are honored to accept this invitation on behalf of all humanity." The cheer that went up was deafening, a cacophony of voices from 100 different throats. Naomi found herself grinning, swept up in the moment, in the sheer, unbridled joy of it all. But even as the celebration swirled around them, as dignitaries stepped forward to shake their hands and offer their congratulations, Naomi's thoughts were already racing ahead, to the future that had just opened up before them. A future where humanity took its rightful place among the stars, where the strength and ingenuity they had demonstrated on that distant, challenging world could be put to use in the service of all sentient life. A future of exploration, of discovery, of pushing the boundaries of what was possible. A future where the Galactic Council wasn't just a distant alien authority, but a true partner, working hand in hand with humanity to build a better, brighter tomorrow. As Naomi looked around at her team, at the pride and determination shining in their eyes, she knew that this was just the beginning. They had proven themselves, yes, but there was so much more to do, so much more to learn and achieve. And they would do it together, united by the unbreakable bonds of their shared humanity, by the indomitable spirit that had carried them through the trials of that distant planet and would carry them forward still into a future brighter than any of them could have ever imagined. The challenges they had faced, the beast, the storm, the quake, they had all been tests, trials by fire that had forged them into something new, something stronger. They had emerged from that crucible as more than just individuals, more than just a team. They had emerged as the vanguard of their species, the first of many who would follow in their footsteps, who would carry the torch of human ingenuity and compassion to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. And as Naomi stood there, surrounded by her friends, her fellow pioneers, she knew that no matter what the future held, no matter what challenges or dangers lay ahead, they would face them as they had faced everything else. Together, always together, bound by the unbreakable ties of their shared humanity, by the love and trust that had seen them through the darkest of times and would light their way forward still into a future of endless possibility and boundless hope. A new beginning for all of them, for all of humanity. And Naomi couldn't wait to see where it would lead.